Hello children, very good morning once again. So today in the second part of the video we are going to discuss the literary elements, that is the poetic device and the rhyming scheme of the poem. Okay, so I hope you all have tried marking the rhyming scheme and the poetic device. If you still haven't done it, I would suggest please do it by yourself first and then look at this video, okay, because attempting on your own is really important. Only then you will understand and get clear with the concept of poetic device. Me giving you all the answers directly, spoon feeding, will not help you. You have to practice the figure of speech and rhyming scheme, and only then you can master into it. Okay, so let's get proceeded. Let's look at the first paragraph. So here in the first paragraph, the rhyming scheme, the hover we could consider as A, and spears. So this spears goes with tears in the fourth line, spears and tears. So the rhyming scheme could start with A, B, C, B, and darkness and pillow, which again don't rhyme. So it could be A, B, C, B, right? So only these two words rhyme together, that is spears and tears. So the rhyming scheme for the first four line would be A, B and C, B. If you see for the next two line, pillow, the word pillow rhymes with nothing. Okay, so pillow is not rhyming with anything, so we'll go for the next. That will bring us E. Next we'll go for the bed. So bed rhymes with patter, overhead. Yes, the word bed rhymes with the word overhead. Okay, so it will be E, F, G, E. Sorry, D, E, F, E, according to the alphabetical orders. So this is how the rhyming scheme. If you look at the whole poem, the next two stanza, the rhyming pattern is same, that is A, B, C, B, D, E, F, E. Again A, B, C, B, D, E, F, E. So the same rhyming pattern is followed in all the paragraphs. You could see here the word shingle does not rhymes with anything, but the word heart, which rhymes with start. Always remember, you have to listen the sound and not the letters or word. Okay, now here the word woof rhymes with the word roof, fur. Similarly, here the word gone rhymes with dawn. See here, this is a good example. The spellings and everything is different, but the sound at the end is same. The end sound, dawn, gone, it is same. It ends with the same sound. Here refrain, rain, again ends with the same sound. Okay, so I hope you are clear with the rhyming scheme. A, B, C, B, D, E, F, E. This is the rhyming pattern which is being followed in the whole poem, in all the stanzas. Now we'll move to the figure of speech. First we'll look into alliteration. You know what is an alliteration? Alliteration is the repetition of consonant sound in two or more words, in two or more consecutive words. Okay, so first if we see the word humid and hover, the word humid and hover, the H sound, the H consonant sound is repeating again and again. Okay, humid and hover. In the second line again, starry spears, the word S is repeating twice, starry spears. Similarly, in the first paragraph, fourth line, press the pillow, the word P, the consonant sound P is repeated twice. Again, if you looked at the last line, lie listening, the word L is repeating. So in the first paragraph itself, you could experience 4 alliteration sounds. Okay, now if you go forward, the second paragraph, there are 2 alliterations. 3, busy being, the word B, the consonant sound of B is being repeated here. And here, weave their air threads into wove. Now here the word there and threads, the word the, not t, the word the is being repeated here. Okay, the th sound, not the t sound. Next, rain upon the roof, the word r is repeated. Remember, you only have to see the repetition of consonant and not the vowels. Okay, some children make mistake marking the repetition sound of the vowels as well. Vowel repetition sound is not considered as alliteration. Okay, here the last paragraph there is only one alliteration, that is darling dreamers. The word d is being repeated twice. Okay, so there are total of 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9, total of 9 alliteration is there in the poem. If I have missed any, please mark and let me know. Okay, next is onomatopoeia. Now we all know what is onomatopoeia, right? Onomatopoeia is the use of sounds or the words to create a dramatic effect. That means if we say the hissing sound, you know what is an hissing sound, right? Who creates an hissing sound? Similarly, here onomatopoeia is used for the imagination of the rain. For example, if we see in the first paragraph the word patter, here patter is used of the sound of the word of a rain. It is the sound which is being made by the raindrops falling on the rooftop. So whenever you heard this word patter, you immediately understand that this word is patter means it is the sound of the raindrop. Similarly, if you see here the word tinkle, here the tinkle is also the sound which is an onomatopoeia which refers to the raindrop, the sound what is made by the raindrop is called tinkle here and patter here. Okay, again patter is the sound used. So total there are 2 onomatopoeia used in 3 different places. Now next is personification. Personification has been used twice here. Now we all know what is personification: treating a non-living thing as a living being, giving a living character to a non-living being. Okay, so here if you see the word darkness, here the darkness word is being personified as if it is said to be sad. Melancholy, as I said you, the meaning of melancholy is darkness. So here darkness is being said that the darkness is sad, is unhappy, is crying. So here darkness is given a living character, personifying is as sadness. Okay, the next personification here used is recollection. If you see the word recollection, that personifies when he says that he is weaving their dreams. Okay, the use here the recollection is personified when he says that they were weaving a dream, when the dreams are being weaved. So weaving is given into a living character to the dream, as if the memories are living, as if the memories are given a livelihood. How they have been personified? Through the word weaving. So there are 2 main personifications in this poem. Now today we are going to learn a new figure of speech, and students, please concentrate while I am explaining you this, because this is a very new concept, a very rarely used figure of speech in the poetic device. It is very, very rarely used and we very rarely pinpoint it, and it has been highly focused in this poem. So I just thought let me introduce it by now itself. Okay, that is transferred epithet. Now this is not a very important figure of speech, but you should know what is transferred epithet. It is a very, very rarely used figure of speech. Okay, so basically if you go for the literal meaning, it is just used of an adjective with a noun. Very simple. So to explain you in a very simple manner what is transfer epithet, I'll give you an example. What if I say you that one of the let's name Sarah. Let's name a girl Sarah. She is talking to her friend Nina. Okay, let's name two persons. One for the first person name is Sarah and the second person's name is Nina. Okay, now Sarah tells her friends Nina that she is, she isn't happy and she is having a very unhappy marriage life. Okay, so she tells her friends Nina that she is having very unhappy marriage life. Now the word unhappy marriage life, what does it denote? Here the marriage itself isn't unhappy. Okay, the word marriage here is not unhappy. Marriage cannot be happy or unhappy. Marriage is not happy. The two people in that marriage are unhappy. You get my point? I'll give you one more example. What if we say that what if I say that I like the red dress? If I say I like the red dress, so it's a simple phrase, like the red dress. Now what is the epithet here? The epithet is the word red. The color is red. The red is the epithet which is describing. And what is it describing? The red is not a dress. We are not talking about the red color. We are talking about the dress that is describing it. The red is describing it. Okay, so here the adjective is being used in the place of noun or used as a noun. This epithet always or commonly occurs in a phrase itself. Now let's see examples from the poem through which you can have a better understanding of transferred epithet. Here if you see melancholy darkness. So as I said you, the use of an adjective with a noun when it is referred to the another noun is known as transferred epithet. Okay, remember this. Now here melancholy darkness. What is epithet in this? Now darkness is not melancholy. Okay, darkness is not sad. The darkness cannot be sad. The darkness is not having any feeling. It has been given a personification character to it. Okay, so here, but in the poem the darkness is referred to sad. Whose sadness? Sadness of the people. So here this adjective is considered to be taken as a noun, which is not actually a noun. So clear my point? Let's see the second example. That is dreamy fancies. Now here, this does not mean that the fancies are dreamy. Okay, the dreams are very fanciful, but it refers to the people who have the dreams. Okay, so it refers to the person again, the noun again. So here the adjective is referring or replacing or following a noun again. Okay, so this is what is transferred epithet. Now to give you a clear, so that you understand this transferred epithet, I want you all to give me at least 2 examples of transferred epithet created by your own. Any 2 phrase of transverse epithet. Okay, anything you could create it. So I hope the concept of the poetic device is clear to you. If you still don't understand, please ping me in personal. That's all for today. Thank you.